What's going on, traders, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Weekly Watchlist, a video series where I do a technical analysis on some of the tickers with the most liquid options chains. Now, these videos come out every Sunday to give you a little prep for the week ahead. This is going into the week of August 20th. That's tomorrow, Monday. And I do understand that these videos can get a little long, so if you'd prefer to skip around and not necessarily follow me in order through the watch list, go into the description, find the ticker you're interested in, and go to the timestamp there. So starting off, like always, looking at SPY, giving us a general market condition outlook. You can see we've done quite a nice job respecting these support and resistance lines that are drawn here. It does look like SPY could potentially head towards these areas of prior resistance up top. Quick trend line, we might be able to draw something like that. If SPY does hold this trend line, I wouldn't be surprised to see it test out all-time highs, if not at least sort of make an attempt at this prior resistance. We are set up quite nicely for that. If you see a break below this, definitely looking for a bit more consolidation, maybe playing in between the range of 282 and 284 again, but this would again establish another point of resistance around that 285 whole dollar mark. If we want to just be playing things nice and round here, 285 whole dollar resistance area if we do break below this trend line. However, if we continue in the upwards direction, look for resistance to initially come into play at that 286 whole dollar, and if we can break that, definitely going to be a battle at all-time highs, 286.63. So although it's only 63 cents away from this prior resistance, this should be a very interesting area on the chart. Next up on our list are the Qs. You can see that we've made this nice run off of our support trend line in the past. We came up to resistance, which was just under our all-time high, similarly to SPY. Came back down for some consolidation, and what's interesting is we're consolidating straight into the support trend line again. We have the 200 simple moving average, which is also helping to keep this stock going in the upward direction. What will be interesting is to see how the open acts on Monday. We are currently sitting at a level that was prior support, so let's see if we can get back above that. If we can get above that, looking for the 50 SMA to come into play as resistance. Normally that tends to act as resistance when we're below it. But then if we can break through that, our prior high here, as well as here, should come into play as resistance, which is right around the 281.30 area. A resistance trend line we can draw just to keep our eye on is a little something like this. Oops. If we can break to the upside of this, then expect a continuation to retest these prior highs and possibly an all-time high this week, similarly to SPY. However, if this resistance trend line holds us down, look to consolidate a little bit further and for the possible rebound off of this support trend line. Having a look at Apple now, you can see that in this past week we've done some consolidating, and it's made it quite clear that instead of pulling back deeper, we are going to have a bit of a continuation here. So I've gone ahead and replaced our fib retracements with fib extensions, and we're currently sitting at the 61.8 level. This should act as a bit of resistance. I wouldn't be surprised to see some consolidating around this area, possibly a pullback to the 38.2, considering we are well extended on the upper Bollinger Band range area, as well as overbought on the RSI. So just things to keep in mind as we head into uncharted territory. These things do play a bit of an extra role since there's not much price action in the past to go off of. However, if we break to the upside, definitely going to come into some resistance at the 100% extension level, which is 225.50. So look for that area if we break to the upside. If we do decide to consolidate on Apple a little bit more, coming back to the 38.2, if that area gives, coming to this area, which are these prior highs here, right around that 210.50 area, which is also going to coincide as we move forward with that 50 SMA. So looking for those areas this week on Apple. Alrighty, so I would like to point out that on Netflix here, we're going to be first looking at the daily chart. I'm on the daily time frame, and then we'll move into the 4-hour chart. So the reason I'm doing this is to provide a little context overall. Netflix has been on a massive bullish run up to all-time highs, and we're finally starting to consolidate on this year's massive movement. So that's why a bit of some of these levels down here are coming from past areas on the chart that you might not have been able to see on the 4-hour chart. So I just want to provide a little context here for where I'm getting these levels when we zoom into the 4-hour. So some support here, which is almost where we're sitting at now. But in general, these areas are coming from further back on the chart. So now looking into the 4-hour time frame, you can see our initial support level, if we can get back above it, that is going to come into play at 318, the whole dollar area. If we can break back above this, open somewhere above it on Monday, then it looks good to head back up and possibly test out this retracement area again, which is going to act as resistance, this 38.2, which comes into play at 333.20. You can see our RSI is saying it's oversold, so there would be some reason to believe that we might get a small bounce off of this support. If that gives, though, and we stay below it, then looking for our next support to come into play at 302, the whole dollar there. And again, this is coming from back prior history in the chart. One other thing that we can draw on Netflix here is a resistance trend line. If we come down and draw something similar to this, then you can see that it has acted as resistance multiple times now. So if we can, like I said, break above this level, 318 on Monday, and then continue through this resistance trend line, definitely looking for a nice bounce over to this 333.20. However, if it holds us down again, chances are coming back to the 302 whole dollar. All right, so on to Tesla. Tesla's an interesting one for a couple of reasons here. If you go back to last week's video, you'll see I drew this head and shoulders pattern and it held up. So pretty interesting there. The break of the neckline happened and we just had a nice downtrend from there. Found a little bit of support at the 50 SMA, but then just continuing to get bloody and bloody and bloody. Look at this candle, quite nasty. However, the other reason Tesla is interesting is because of the massive volume and red here. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a 100% pullback on this move. Ever since Elon tweeted that he would take Tesla private at $420 a share, all sorts of issues have come up, lawsuits, big headlines, things in the news that have been causing the stock to be crazy volatile. So things aren't necessarily holding up as they should when it comes to technical analysis. We should consolidate a little bit around this area of support, 307.60, somewhere in there. RSI is saying we're quite oversold. We're outside the lower Bollinger Band range. I would not be surprised to see a bit of a consolidation around this level, and then a continuation to a 100% pullback, finding us right where we were. Tesla coming full circle. All right, next on our list is Alibaba. You can see that in the past couple of days we've been in a downward channel, going back and forth, back and forth. We finally broke our yearly support, which was pretty interesting because you can see a lot of buyers stepped up, massive green volume, wanting to send Alibaba back up higher. But the interesting thing is about this is our downward channel still is being respected by those highs. So you can see we ran into it here, found resistance, and came back down for further consolidation. So it should be interesting this week to see if we head upwards and break through this, which is going to be coinciding with our 175 price level. If we can break up through that, then looking for the 50 SMA to act as resistance. If we can get through that, going all the way 181.15 area. One thing to keep in mind is our lower support trend line, which is coming into play something like that. So keep these areas in mind as we consolidate and narrow the range, tighten up here on Alibaba. If we can break to one side or the other, expect a continuation to occur on either side. So last but not least, taking a look at Facebook. Facebook's another cool one, similarly to Tesla because of our trend line we drew. You can see, let's get rid of that. You can see that ever since we opened on Monday, we followed it as support almost to a T. And then finally, once we broke it, seeing some red. This week, I would expect a further continued pullback all the way to the 170 whole dollar. If that does decide to give and we continue seeing red this week, going most likely to 166.15 based on this prior low here. However, if we can break that fib retracement and break to the upside, probably going to continue along sideways this major 180 whole dollar level that we've been struggling with in the past week. If we can get through that, back up here, going to retest that area. But again, these are just some major areas on the chart to pay attention to as we go throughout the week. So that's going to wrap up this week's weekly watch list. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or think I missed anything, would like to go over any different tickers, leave them down below in the comments section. I'd be more than happy to add some things to the watch list, make the video more suited to your needs. And if you enjoy this type of material on the market, trading, and technical analysis in general, head on over to the channel and subscribe. There's definitely more content I'm sure you would enjoy.